Hi, welcome to Midwest Magic Cleaning. My name is Chad Email, inventor of Necessary Evils. Today I'm going to be showing you 18 things that you should be cleaning every season. And I say every season because it's about every 3 months. And the beginning of a season is a really good way to remember when to do these things. I'm going to start out by showing you how to make a homemade cleaner that's really handy and really cheap. I call it APC. It stands for All-Purpose Cleaner. And it's just made with 70% isopropyl alcohol, a couple drops of Dawn dish soap, and water. The first kind I'm going to make, I'm marking with an S, and that stands for sanitize. And this formula will just be straight alcohol and Dawn dish soap. This will be used to sanitize surfaces, especially on things that are kind of gross, like trash cans and your mom. The second bottle is marked with a C, which stands for clean, and that's just everyday basic cleaning stuff. We're going to use the same formula, alcohol and Dawn, but we're going to fill this bottle about 1/4 to 1/3 with the same 70% isopropyl alcohol. The rest is going to be water. Now, the 5 or 6 drops of dish soap doesn't have to be exact. It basically boils down to about half a teaspoon. But this stuff is really good on hard surfaces that shine. So windows, mirrors, countertops, whether they be stone or laminate or whatever weird type countertop you have, moose pelt countertops. Just one word of advice, don't use it on wood. Wood's a bit too porous for this stuff and it can dull finishes like varnish. But it's good on everything else. And if it's hard and it shines, this stuff works on it. In this video, I'll be using Mr. Clean as my primary cleaner, and then the homemade stuff that I just showed you will be the kind of finishing touch on everything. That said, we're going to start cleaning things in the order of the most time that it takes. I'm going to start with the freezer because if yours needs defrosted, that's going to take several hours. Mine doesn't. I've got a little bit of frost in there, but mainly I just need to go through this one and get rid of expired food or something that was bought a long time ago but never eaten, because if it hasn't been eaten in 3 months, it's probably never going to be eaten. So I'm just going to pull out all the bad food, throw it away, restack everything, and then if it happened to have needed to be defrosted, this is the time when you do it. You just pull all your food out, put it in a cooler, unplug your freezer, let it defrost for just long enough for the ice to get loose, and then you can kind of scrape it with a soft utensil like a spatula. Don't use a hammer, don't use a paint scraper. You can poke holes in the insulation and ruin your freezer like an idiot. But yeah, the reason that I'm starting with that first is because of the time that it would take if it did need to be defrosted. While that's happening, you can go do other things. You don't have to just sit there and watch the ice melt like a freak. And that's going to be a common theme throughout this video. We're going to start things that take a lot of time, and then while they're soaking or the chemicals are working, we'll be doing something else, but I'll keep you on track. If you're a person who likes to do things linear, for instance, I'm going to clean the oven and I'm not going to do anything else until the oven's clean, this is going to take you several days. My son Jason and I did everything you're going to see on this video in about 4 hours. Now, it's an important thing to note, this video is not for people who keep their house immaculate every day. A lot of people who are like that are going to see this video and say, well, I do this like once a week. And that's awesome. I'm glad you do that. The reality is there's a whole lot of people out there who never ever think to do this stuff. Even if our house is kept really clean, there's a whole lot of stuff in this video that we just don't think about. So for those people, that's why I say let's do this seasonally. That way you can say, hey, it's the first day of spring. I know there's something important I needed to do today. Then at the beginning of every season, you'll just go down this list. Also, this is not an exhaustive list of everything you need to clean. These are just some things that I spitballed with members of the channel, and it's the most common things that we recognize that people would forget to do. In fact, most of the things on this list, even though I do this for a living, I never think about them until they get so bad that it's like, oh, yeah, that's gross. I should probably clean that before it gains consciousness and starts walking. So anyway, if you're cleaning your freezer, and even if it doesn't need defrosted, just the act of restacking stuff will make you find things that you forgot were in there. So you can actually solve your dinner problem for tonight or tomorrow. So for instance, as I was cleaning this one, I found a couple packages of brats, and I didn't know what I wanted for dinner, but then I was like, oh yeah, brats. I forgot those existed. And now I don't have to do that mental dance with my wife trying to figure out what we both want to eat at the same time. Because I know for a fact that my wife would suplex her own mother for a brat. She's weird. Next up, we're going to clean the oven, but we're not going to do it the way you've seen over and over and over again. Like there's so many YouTube channels that show you how to use oven cleaner and a razor scraper. What I found out is there's a whole lot of people out there who have self-cleaning ovens who don't know how to use it. So that's what we're going to do with this one. We're going to start out by taking out the grates, or whatever you call those things, the racks or the oven metal things. And then we're just going to wipe down the inside of the stove to get rid of all the ash and all the burnt stuff that's already on it, everything loose. Use a rag that you don't care about, that you have no emotional attachment to, that you feel nothing for, because after this you're probably going to want to throw it away. I mean, you can wash it if you want to, but I just used an old rag that I didn't even want anymore. Paper towels do the same thing. But if you use paper towels, make sure that you use a paper towel that you're not emotionally attached to. When you're finished wiping out everything, we're going to put the racks back, and then we're going to kill two birds with one stone here. There's a trick you can use with aluminum cookie sheets or baking sheets. You know how they'll get these little black or brown spots on them, and then sometimes they'll get this thing that looks like grease but really isn't. It's kind of a weird, sticky, almost silicone looking stuff on the edges. If you throw those into a self-cleaning oven and then run the cycle, it will make those things look almost brand new. It will burn off everything, because the way the self-cleaning cycle works is that the oven heats up as high as it can go, and then it just burns everything to ash. So that's what we're going to do. Don't do this with non-stick stuff, but to run the self-clean cycle, you shut the door, obviously, because that would be weird if you didn't. Anyway, shut the door, and you're going to hit the clean button, and on mine, it'll make you pick whether you want a regular clean or a heavy clean. I put mine on heavy, and in my experience, the clean cycle on most ovens lasts about 4 hours. So definitely make sure that you don't want to use your oven for like half a day. While that's running, I'm having Jason remove the shower curtains, and we're going to do another two birds with one stone sort of deal. We're going to wash the washer itself and the shower curtains at the same time. We're going to get rid of all the hard water stuff. Now you might notice Jason walks off with the shower curtain hooks still on the curtains, but don't worry, I caught it and I made him take them off. I was like, you take them off, and I mean now, son. And he started crying. I'm like, don't cry, just take them off. The actual simplest version of this is just to throw your old shower liner away and buy a new one at Dollar Tree or Dollar General or Dollar Bill, y'all, whatever the name of that store is. The way we're going to do both the washer and the curtains is we're going to fill up the washer with hot water, and I'm going to add not quite a half a gallon of cleaning vinegar. Cleaning vinegar is more acidic and more powerful than regular white vinegar. This is going to take a bit because my type of top loading washer holds about 30 plus gallons of water. So I'm turning the setting to extra large, the temperature to hot. I'm going to dump in almost half a gallon of vinegar, and then I'm going to add 4 cups of OxiClean. You don't necessarily need that, but it definitely helps a lot. If you're just doing your washer and you haven't done it in a really long time, you can just let this sit overnight with the lid up, because the inside of your washer may look clean, but the outside of that basket has collected all sorts of soap scum and soap residue, hard water, demons, moose teeth, and vinegar's really good at getting all that stuff off. It just needs a lot of time to do its thing. I've done this with mine before, so I'm only going to let this set for about an hour or two. Then once the basket part of the washer is full, I'm going to stuff the shower curtains down into it and just let those soak right along with the washer. I'll put down the lid a couple of times in this process just to agitate the water to mix up the vinegar and the OxiClean, and then I'll let it agitate one more time with the curtains in it just so it works the curtains down into the water. Otherwise, we're just leaving the lid up and just letting these things soak for as long as we can. While that's soaking, we're going to go back upstairs and we're going to take off the shower head and any faucet heads that have hard water deposits on them. I'm going to grab a bowl that I feel nothing for. We're going to fill that with undiluted CLR, that stands for calcium, lime, and rust remover. And then we're just going to plop all that stuff right in the bowl and let that soak for like an hour. While that's soaking, I'm going to fill the other part of my sink with pure hot water and just Dawn dish soap, but a lot of it. Then I'm going to remove the metal grate that's under the hood of my stove, that little grease type of filter vent. And I'm going to throw that and the fabric softener container that you saw me pull out of the washer into this sink, and I'm going to let those soak for a bit. While those are soaking, I'm going to clean the Curig, or start the cleaning process. I'm going to dump the old water that's in it and replace the reservoir. Then I'm going to fill that reservoir half full of white vinegar. We're going to run 1 brew of 1 large cup 1 time. When that cup is filled with vinegar, we're going to dump that vinegar in the sink. Then we're going to put the cup back and we're going to let the Curig set, because now we've put vinegar vinegar not just through the system, but there's vinegar sitting in the pump. Any tubes or hoses that may be on the internals is now filled with vinegar, and we want that vinegar to stay there because any hard water deposits that remain in those tubes will be dissolved by the vinegar. So while that's soaking and doing its job, we're going to switch to the trash can. Now, cleaning this is pretty simple. I always use 2 cleaners. I use one to cut crud, and my favorite is Mr. Clean, but you can use whatever you want. Then after the crud's gone, the next part of the cleaning is to sanitize and shine, and that's where I use my homemade APC. So Jason's going to take out the trash, then he's going to soak down the whole trash can everywhere with Mr. Clean, and then we're going to let that sit for like 3 to 5 minutes. Once that's softened everything up, he can just take a rag, wipe everything down. We'll even take a toothbrush at one point and kind of scrub out the little cracks and crevices. And even though Mr. Clean's not great on really shiny surfaces, because it leaves kind of a streaky haze, there's still a lot of stuff on the outside of the trash can that needs a good emulsifier like that. Once he's finished with the crud part of the cleanup, then we need to sanitize. So he's going to take the sanitizing version of our APC and spray the whole interior of the trash can, both the housing and the black basket. Then the outside of the trash can, since it is metal, he's just going to use everyday APC. We're going to clean that with a microfiber cloth, and then we're going to dry it with an ultra fine microfiber cloth. And that will eliminate 100% of the streaks, and this will look like a brand new trash can. So suck it. After the trash can's finished, we're going to go down to the furnace and replace the filter. On almost all furnace filters, you'll find an arrow somewhere along the cardboard backing. That arrow will always point toward the furnace. That big piece of ductwork to the right, that's where air comes from your house into the furnace, and that's what that filter is filtering out, is the old dusty air before it gets to the furnace. So just point that arrow at the furnace, and that's the right way to put it. The next thing we're going to clean is under the kitchen sink, and in all the videos on my channel where I clean other people's houses for free, this is the worst place to clean because people forget about it. It's just used for storage for chemicals or whatever. It doesn't get access that much. It's so low that people don't really look in there. So when you take everything out, it's usually water damaged. There's sometimes black mold. There's rust from old cans of paint or cleaning chemicals, whatever happens to be stored down there. So I'm going to take everything out, spray it down with Mr. Clean, let it set for a second, and then I'm going to use the scouring side of a sponge, and I'm just going to scrub that in small circles until I get the bulk of the nasty stuff off, and then I'm just going to wipe it down with a rag. We're not looking for perfect here. I'm not looking to get rid of all the stains and get super detailed with a magic eraser. Stains can stay as far as I'm concerned, but the actual crud needs to go. This is also a good time to find any unnecessary items that are stored under the sink and either get rid of them or find a better place for them, because most of the sink undersides that I've been inside have way too much stuff in there, like an overload of cleaning supplies or just a bunch of Walmart bags, which, by the way, stop collecting Walmart bags, man. You're never going to need 150 Walmart bags. Just stop it. Let the bags go, man. Also, those 2 wires you see in the back aren't actually hooked to anything. I've just been too lazy to pull them out of the wall. So no, there's no actual electricity going through those, so I'm in no danger. The only thing in danger there is the wires, because if I grab a hold of them, I'll induce electricity, baby. It will become electrified and be like, suck it, wire. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get in your way, cleaner guy. Shut up, talking wires. So after we're done with that, we're going to put everything back, and then we're going to go to some place that I always forget, which is my utensil holders. They don't get super nasty, but they get stuff in the bottom because they're open containers. So I'm just going to take all this out in bulk and then spray it down with my sanitizing spray and then wipe it down. That's it. It takes like 2 minutes to do all of them. But had it not been for this video, I would have totally forgotten to do them, and like 2 years from now, I'd have looked inside there and been like, oh my God, utensil. More like you disgusting stole. I'm not good at puns. After that, we're going to do a couple of doors because I want to show you two different methods. The first one is going to be just using Mr. Clean and a rag, and we don't even really have to let the Mr. Clean set that long. We just spray it on, let it set for a few seconds, and wipe it right back off. But you can see how big of a difference it makes on this door. Then after that, Jason's just going to use my regular APC to clean the windows, again with a microfiber cloth followed by an ultra fine microfiber to get rid of any streaks. That ultra fine microfiber is the key. Some people call them glass cloths. They're expensive, but they're totally worth it. And at some point when we get the shop going for Midwest Magic cleaning supplies, that's the very first item I'm putting up for sale. I've got several cases of them downstairs right now just waiting to be sold, but we haven't started the shop yet because, well, life. But once life lets up, you can count on that shop being full force, baby. You shop so hard, your face is going to fall off. People will see your faceless head and be like, hey man, you've been shopping at Midwest Magic Cleaning? And you won't even be able to answer because you won't have any lips. Now, the second way to clean the door is no chemicals. We're just going to use a magic eraser, and those magic erasers don't have chemicals in them. It's just a special type of sponge that whenever you get it wet, it wipes off just tons of stuff. So that's all we're using here. I just ran this under some water, squeezed out the excess water, and I'm just wiping that across my office door. Don't use them really hard. Don't put a lot of pressure on them because they will shred right in your hands. Just be sure to keep it wet, use gentle pressure, and stuff will come right off. Even stains that you didn't think could come off, there's a good chance the magic erasers can take them off. It's not so expensive that you'll go bankrupt if they don't work. The next thing that I always forget are window sills and window tracks. Now, I'm hoping this shows up on video because in real life this was pretty grimy, and by the time we were done with it, it looked brand new. Now, I went a little further than just regular wiping it down. I took the end of a toothbrush and poked it inside my rag and then ran the rag up and down the vertical tracks to get some of that embedded dust and debris out. But even if all I did was just wipe the base of that off, that was worth the effort by itself. Now that we have LED bulbs that just kind of last forever, I never think to check into the globes that go around the lights. So this would be a good time to take off your light covers and just give them a quick APC clean. Or if you're not using APC, you can just throw them in some of them will go in your dishwasher. Some of them you can just put in your dishwater that you are using to clean dishes by hand. But for me, APC is the fastest way to do it. Also, I just totally told on myself age-wise because I was talking about the idea that we now have LED bulbs, but there's a large part of my audience that have never known a world that didn't have LED bulbs. And back when I was a kid, we just lit things up with open fire. We didn't even have stuff to put the fire in. We just had to hold the fire with our hands. I mean, it wasn't very efficient, but it looked pretty cool. I don't know how many of you still have a PC. I have to have one for editing, so I've got a nice computer that I have to have a fast one, otherwise editing would take 2 freaking days for a YouTube video. But now's a very good time to blow the dust out of your PC, and if it's got a glass case like mine has, you can use APC to clean it. Just make sure that you're spraying the rag and not the actual glass because you don't want to get the interior of your PC wet. But I just take the case off and then take one of those compressed air cans and blow out the dust. Then I take an ultra fine microfiber because it doesn't have like fibers like a regular rag does. It can't really catch on anything. And I very, very gently wipe down anything that the compressed air couldn't get to. But you really want to do this especially to your graphics cards because dust can embed in the heat sink and cause your graphics card to overheat. I like to do it to the processor as well, but I don't want to take off the cover and the heat sink on my current processor, so I just blew everything around it. If you're not comfortable taking your computer apart, don't do this, have somebody else do it, but it does need to be done because one of the most easily solvable ways of fixing a laggy computer is just cleaning it. Outside of that, you have to replace things like RAM and all that. That's another problem. APC is not going to fix your RAM, dude. Your ram-a-lam. Also, when you're doing this, make sure you unplug the computer, and I also like to unplug my Ethernet. I don't think that part's super necessary. It's just a thing that I like to do because if I accidentally hit the cable or I accidentally get it caught on my finger while I'm trying to wipe things down, I don't want that brittle little thing to snap, so I just unplug it just to be safe. Now, I don't show it on here, but it's also a good idea to use that same compressed air to blow out your keyboard. It's the easiest way to get all the crumbs and stuff out of of it. I mean, I blew mine out and an entire turkey leg flopped onto the floor from under the F key. I can't help it. Turkey legs are just how I roll, son. Get my turkey leg on. Legging it up. Once we're done with the computer, we're going to go to anything in the house that is either leather or vinyl or faux leather. Anything that has a slick leather-like surface on it. And we're going to use leather conditioner. And I don't have a brand name for you because I always forget to look. But you can find that stuff anywhere. I get mine at Walmart. You can find it in the auto department. If your couch or your computer chair or footstool, whatever it is that you're wiping down, if it's dirty, you can clean it with an all-purpose cleaner like Mr. Clean or Zep, but you'll want to follow that up with a conditioner, which is what we're using now. My couch wasn't dirty, so I just needed to condition it. And if you condition stuff like this every 90 days or so, it really does improve the life of that piece of furniture. And again, this does work on vinyl. The leather on my couch is that slick type of leather, so I just sprayed the conditioner right on it. If you've got a leather that's not slick, if it's more like not quite suede, but also not quite slick, like you wouldn't want to use this on suede. But anyway, you know the type of leather I'm talking about. It doesn't feel hard. Don't spray this stuff directly on that. Spray it on the rag and then wipe it from the rag onto the furniture. The reason you don't want to spray it directly on there on that softer type of leather is because this stuff can leave little dark spray marks. What happens is the leather absorbs that instead of the rag spreading it out even. So you get one section that you sprayed that instantly gets absorbed into the leather and then you can't spread it out. But if you spray the rag itself, you can control how much you spread it out. Hopefully that makes sense. Sometimes I talk and it just sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher in my head. Now we're going to do the job that I hate, which is cleaning the fridge, but I'm not going to go so far as to take everything apart. Most cleaning channels will take all the drawers out and the shelving units and all that. They'll strip out the fridge entirely and then clean it top to bottom, each individual drawer, each individual shelf. You can definitely do that if you want to. I am quite frankly lazy when it comes to fridges, so I take things one shelf at a time. Plus mine wasn't super dirty. If the inside of your fridge is really dirty, then yes, absolutely take all that stuff out of there. An easy place to wash that would be the bathtub. Take them all up to the bathtub, fill it just like you would a sink for dishes, and just wash the crap out of them up there. With mine, I'm just going to take everything off one shelf, APC everything, and then put everything back that's still good. In doing this, it means that everything that passes through my hand gets basically a quality inspection. If the food sucks or it's old or expired, it goes straight in the trash. Don't ask me why I started with the bottom shelf first. I'm weird. I just picked a shelf and started cleaning. Most people would start from the top and work their way down, but sometimes my brain is just like, ooh, hey, a quarter, and then it just wanders off the path. So anyway, that's what I did with the fridge. I just started cleaning each individual shelf with APC, put everything back, and then we move on to the next thing. At this point, the faucet heads have sat long enough in the CLR, so I'm just going to take a throwaway brush and scrub the ends of those to get any remaining loose debris off of them. Then once I get those scrubbed down, I'm just going to throw those in the dishes that I have to my right and wash them just like everyday dishes. That way there's no leftover CLR residue or anything. And while I've got the brush in my hand, I can finally clean out the grease trap or the grease vent thing, metal cover dealy, whatever that's called. I think that's what they're called, as well as the fabric softener port from the washer downstairs. So I'm going to clean all that up all at once, and that's another thing checked off of our list. Then we'll screw in the shower head and test it out, and it works great. It's actually almost weird to see the shower coming out the way it's supposed to, rather than having several streams shooting out in different directions. But having that done means that the Curig is now set long enough to flush. So we're going to go back up to the Curig. We're going to run the last of the vinegar through it until the reservoir is empty. Then we're going to rinse that out in the sink, fill the reservoir back up with water, and then we're going to run at least 2 cups of just straight water through the Curig. That'll flush out any vinegar that's left in the system. And when you're done with those 2 cups, your Curig's ready to use. You won't taste vinegar in that at all because it all gets flushed out all at the same time. The rest of the Curig can just be cleaned with APC, just the regular everyday cleaning APC. If you want to use the sanitizing stuff, you can. It's not necessary. Mine is basically a brand new Curig anyway. But I'll just spray APC on the outside, wipe it down with my rag, and then I'll take apart that bottom piece that the cup sits on, because that's like an overflow thing, just in case it puts too much coffee out into your cup. It has a place to catch the overflow. I, however, have had more than one occasion where I've started the coffee and then realized that I forgot to put the cup underneath it. So I can tell you firsthand that that reservoir on my Curig holds exactly 1 large cup of coffee. Now that the Curig's done, it means that the washer has sat long enough. So we're going to go back down and we're going to put the fabric softener reservoir back into the washer and then close the lid and let that just run its cycle to actually wash the shower curtains that's in it. Now we're going to go to the cabinet that I always forget, which is the baking cabinet. When I open this up, you're probably going to see some ants in here because here in my part of Illinois, every single house in our area gets bombarded by ants this time of year, and there's nothing you can do about it except put taro traps out. That's a chemical called taro that the ants end up drinking, taking back to their nest, and it kind of destroys the whole nest from the inside out. It's diabolical, which is why I love taro. Anyway, we're going to pull everything out of the baking cabinet and throw away anything that's expired or anything that we got and then just never ended up making. And that's 2 different things. Some things you need and they just expire. Sometimes you just get hungry for a carrot cake or something, so you buy the mix and then you just forget that it exists. The reason I make note of both of those things is because if I'm throwing out something that's expired but we also use, then I need to make a mental note to go buy more of that thing. Otherwise, the next time I get in that cabinet, it's not going to be there, and then I'm going to be angry and grumpy because I've got to go to the store, then I have to spin kick a moose, and then the moose starts crying, and it's just not good for anyone. So anyway, I'm just going to pull all this stuff out, go through it. I'm going to APC each one of those shelves and wipe them down, and then put everything back in an organized manner. I think I ended up getting rid of about half of the stuff that was in this cabinet, so it's always good to go through this stuff. Also, I didn't show it on camera, but this is an excellent time to go through your spices. No one ever thinks to go through their spices. Those do expire. I've never heard of anyone getting sick off of them because basically you kind of can't. But the older a spice gets, the less flavor it holds. So you definitely want to get rid of the old stuff because it's not doing what spices are supposed to do to begin with, which is add flavor. It's also a good time to go through your pantry. Check all the expiration dates for your canned goods, your old soups, your cans of moose face and chicken butts, and get rid of everything that's expired or things that you've had forever that you just decided you never wanted to eat. There's no sense in food taking up space in your cabinet if you're not going to eat it. If it's not expired, donate it. If you don't have a place to donate it, I don't know, plant it in your yard or something. Maybe it'll grow a new bush, like a chicken soup bush. I don't know where chicken soup comes from, is what I'm saying. and we're getting pretty close to being done. At this point, the washer's ran its cycle, so we're going to go take the curtains out, and then while Jason puts those on upstairs, I'm going to clean the entire washer with Mr. Clean. And that's just a simple case of spraying the outside of it and wiping it down. There's one spot that bugs me on here because I clearly missed it, even after I told myself, don't forget to get this spot. It's just a little ring that's on top of the basket, and I'll never be able to unsee it. So after I finish editing this video, I'm going to go back downstairs and wipe that off right now, basically. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to wipe the washer down, and at this point, it's cleaned inside and out. Meanwhile, Jason's putting the shower curtains back up. For those of you who are about to ask, I don't remember where we got the shower curtain or the window curtain from, even though they're wicked awesome. They're probably the coolest things I've ever had in a bathroom, but I can't for the life of me remember where we got them. I'm pretty sure we probably ordered those off Amazon. That or they were bestowed upon us by a thankful witch. If that was the case, thank you, witch, and I'm so sorry I forgot that you gave us those. Please don't curse us. Finally, the stove has ran through its cycle and has finally cooled down enough to handle. And check out these cookie sheets. Yes, these are the same ones that I put in there at the beginning of this video. Nope, there's no trickery, no editing. Those are the same pans. So all that's left with the oven is all the stuff that's in there right now, that little white film, that's all ash. So the oven ran as hot as it could go for like 4 hours, and then it cooled down for an additional hour. So we're just gonna spray APC in there and wipe all the ash out. It's not enough to vacuum. It's too thin of a layer. The vacuum wouldn't do anything. So you pretty much have to wipe it out. But that's pretty much it. I mean, again, this is not an exhaustive list, but it's a list that our little community thought that you guys might appreciate and can actually use. Anyway, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. We're working our way to 1 million subscribers where we'll get the gold plaque. And that's the only thing I want out of this channel on a personal level is the gold plaque. Members, I will see you this Wednesday. Everyone else, I'll see you next weekend. Later.